Tonight, rainfall warnings and risk of flooding in Nain. And more people from this province displaced in Florida due to Milton.
The tiredness, the exhaustion you feel from days of stress and worry.
The storm makes landfall. We meet another Newfoundlander coming down from the height of the hurricane.
They got those people, older people here in Stoneville and Port Albert, that afraid of them that they won't even speak up. They won't even come out and put boots on the ground.
People are going to start taking matters into their own hands.
The people of Stoneville and Port Albert say the crime in their communities is real and it's growing. And they want the RCMP to help solve the problems. That's the story tonight on Here and Now.
Pull up. It's not hard.
You can't have Thanksgiving without vegetables. Local farmers share their harvest.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. A downpour is expected from Nain to Hopedale tonight, with emergency services warning communities about the risk of flooding. Now we're going to go straight to it, and we're going to bring in our meteorologist now, Ashley, for more on this developing story. So, Ashley, what should people in that part of the province expect in the coming hours?
Yeah, so we've got quite a bit of moisture associated with this area of low pressure here, and a couple of troughs associated with that as well. This is what's bringing all of this heavy rain to the Avalon at the moment, but it is essentially being directed up across northern portions of Labrador, and we can see that with the cloud cover. Seeing some showers already, but some of that heavier rain expected to move in as we head through tonight. Environment Canada has both Nain and Hopedale in rainfall warnings as well as wind warnings. It's also going to come with some pretty gusty winds, upwards of 90, maybe even 100 kilometers per hour in that time frame. But quite a significant amount of rain expected, most of that to fall tonight and into tomorrow, which is why we're seeing that flood warning there. At this point, looking between 75 to as much as 100 millimeters of rain falling quite quickly. Like I said, most of that falling tonight into tomorrow, but it will continue at least until we get into the first part of Sunday. So like I said, we're seeing some of that rain across the Avalon at the moment as well, and I'll break the full forecast down for you coming up a little later.
Thanks for that, Ashley. Nain will be testing some new infrastructure tonight. About 5 years ago, there was a significant rainfall, and the Onyekok says they weren't prepared for it. There were washouts. Some homes were damaged. Since then, Julia Sticker says that they've been preparing for worsening weather.
Well, this time around, we have the land prepared. We've had, in the 5 years, we've had contractors come in and fill in the area with rock and that, and the ditches have been strengthened up. So we're confident that can uphold the onslaught, but that has to be seen yet. It's going to be the first time testing it, I guess, on the way since flooding, but we're confident that we've got it covered. Climate change is here, no doubt about that.
Dicker is warning residents to stay vigilant and listen for updates and warnings. He says anyone experiencing flooding or an emergency should call the town office. They will also be set up at the community centre should anyone be forced to leave their home. Small communities in Notre Dame Bay are looking for help. They say a few troublemakers are making life difficult for everyone. It's a story we've been following this week. This comes after MP Clifford Small's claims that rural crime is a major problem in his riding. Here Now's Troy Turner visited Stoneville and Port Albert. He has the story.
Quiet, pleasant, picturesque. Stoneville is a snapshot of small-town Newfoundland. But there's a growing problem here, chipping away at the residents' peace of mind.
In the past few years, there's been, been some minor crimes escalating, I guess. But in the last few months, it has really escalated to the point where almost every morning you wake up, you kind of heard of something else, something that was happened overnight, and you knew something happened, because you knew that these people were up to something overnight.
The local service district says break-in entries, public disturbances, and erratic driving are now the norm. Residents held a public meeting with the RCMP last month, but Hodder says quick patrols through town aren't enough. he's seen little change.
The system should be there to help these people, because at the end of the day, I feel sorry. I know all these people personally, and you know, I do have a soft spot for them in the sense that I feel bad for them. But the system isn't doing them any favors by bringing them in and letting them go. You know, they need to be able to get on the right track and on life, and the system that our justice system should be in place to help these people. And putting them back out on the streets isn't doing them any favors.
Here in the neighboring community of Port Albert, population under 50. Residents say they are dealing with the same issues.
It's to the point where they're coming in the harbour all hours in the morning, bringing in their stuff that they're stealing and putting it in those stash houses. And I've been seeing speeders. I've been seeing people trying to intimidate people. Yeah, you name it, it's happening.
Pelly believes it's the RCMP's responsibility to intervene, to be more of a presence in the area.
You know what? We need some help here. Port Albert and Stoneville needs some help. And I'm sure there's other communities around that needs help. But right now, we need some help. And don't, for the cops to come after me and say, oh, well, we're doing what we can. No, you're not. No, you're not. Now, whether you're short-staffed or not, it's time for you to start sticking up for us, the citizens. Help protect us. We're paying you. You don't get your paycheck from the federal government. You get your paycheck from us, the taxpayers.
She says many seniors are uneasy, afraid to speak out for fear of retribution.
They're too afraid that the next time, well, I mean, like, hey, who's to say that they won't come and light us on fire? Who's to say that they won't? Because that's how mentally incompetent on these drugs that these people are.
She's also concerned residents could take matters into their own hands should the situation continue. Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador acknowledges these small communities need help.
One piece that our members have asked for is indeed more resources, more support for policing, more funding to support boots on the ground in communities, and a more policing presence. But at the same time, we also recognize that that's not the whole picture or the whole solution or the whole answer.
For residents like Jeffrey Hodder, Stoneville will always be home. But lately, it doesn't feel the same.
I always loved Stoneville. I mean, I lived there my whole life. I plan on living there till the day I die. I have a really strong attachment to it. I mean, I'll deal with the crime if I got to, the best I can. I don't think that they're going to intimidate me to the point where I would want to leave. That's not who I am. I'm not a one to buckle to that kind of thing. But yeah, it has sort of took the enjoyment out of just sort of being out and about, for sure.
The people of these communities are frustrated and they're not sure where to turn next to help solve the problems. They do hope the RCMP will bring further enforcement to help curb the issues and bring these communities back to the quiet, peaceful towns they once were. Troy Turner, CBC News, Stoneville.
More money for pilots. That's at the heart of a strike vote at Exploits Valley Air Services. The company operates cargo and medical evacuation flights around the province, and its 18 pilots and first officers working at the Gander-based airline voted 100% in favor of a strike. If a deal isn't reached, the air crews could be on the picket line by October 22nd. An injured dock worker was taken to hospital this morning as a result of an industrial accident. Police say paramedics reportedly arrived to find the worker had sustained head injuries as a result of a fall. The man was alert when they arrived and he was taken to hospital. That incident is now being investigated by Occupational Health and Safety. Deer Lake is getting a new community health center with clinic space, x-ray, and blood collection. Construction is expected to start here on Humberview Drive this fall and finish by spring of 2026. Marco Group is building and will own the 30,000 square foot facility. The provincial government is going to lease the center for 20 years at a total cost of $50 million.
Right now, we're delivering services for community, public health, family care teams across 3 sites. This will consolidate those services and programs into one site. It'll give the patient and the family a one-stop place to come. It'll also allow staff to be able to collaborate differently and better to ensure that the healthcare needs that they have are met in one place. This isn't emergency care. This is about clinic care. This is primary health care. And this is about having the right team members around the patient to be able to make sure that your preventative health care needs are met.
Staying with health news, experts say patients should get a CT scan within 2 months' time. So why are thousands of patients in the province waiting as long as a year or even more for a medical scan? The CBC's Abby Cole has that story.
There's a shortage of medical radiation technologists in the province. And for cancer patients, that is a huge problem because it creates long wait times for imaging exams like CT scans when an early diagnosis is crucial.
Any delay in getting that screening, any delay in getting that scan does create further delays in their journey. And so it comes with a lot of uncertainty. It comes with a lot of additional anxiety and mental and emotional health concerns.
Access to cancer screening is also not equitable across the province. For patients in rural communities, there are significant barriers.
And having that easy access to not only the technology to get that scan and to begin their diagnosis journey, but also when we think about recruiting health human resources to those regions so that it is always available.
There are thousands of patients waiting for imaging exams in the province. For a CT scan, the wait is 316 days, and for an MRI, the wait is 441. But according to national recommendations from the Association of Radiologists, patients should wait a maximum of 60 days for their CT scan.
It's very hard to have an operation if the surgeon doesn't know what's happening inside. It's very hard for an oncologist, cancer doctor, to treat somebody for something that they don't see until they get the imaging. And, we just can't keep up with the demand based on how much equipment we have and how many people we have to run that equipment.
In Newfoundland and Labrador, that demand has skyrocketed by 71% over a decade. But the number of technologists is up by just 1%.
What we're saying as a profession is that there are not enough MRTs in the system. There are not enough full-time positions in the system to match this demand. And when that happens, you get wait times that are 2 years long. I think, unfortunately, the government in the past few years has been so focused on doctors and nurses who are essential, no question. But it's been to the, to the ignorance of other healthcare professions that are just as essential. And so while they've been focused kind of in one corner of the healthcare system, the other, corner involving medical radiation technologists has been somewhat ignored.
NAPE President Jerry Earle represents workers in all corners of the health system facing staff shortages. On top of the medical radiation technologists, he says there are not enough personal care attendants and paramedics. For just about any job in healthcare, there are not enough people.
It can't be about singling out a couple of occupations because every occupation in healthcare contributes to the care diagnosis of patients in Newfoundland and Labrador. And if one of those pieces are missing in that team, it will have an impact. In this case, like the MRTs provide an invaluable service. Without them, that has a major impact on the healthcare system.
To tackle the wait list, more appointments have been added to weekends and evenings. More scans using the same number of technologists adds up to more pressure on staff.
There's only so much work you can put in if you have limited resources, so it's taken a toll on those staff as there because they know if they don't expend their hours and step up, there are people going to wait for prolonged periods. We can't operate a healthcare system on the backs of people that are already there, that are under immense pressure for the last several years.
Most of the public's attention in recent years has been on the shortage of doctors and nurses. But until there are people working in all corners of the healthcare system, patients will still be waiting. Abby Cole, CBC News, St. John's.
More information on that new telephone scam that we told you about last night. Here now's Arlette Lazarenko has the latest.
There's a new phone scam targeting the Northeast Avalon. It starts with a call and ends with a big bill and a cell phone you didn't ask for. The RNC wants you to know how it works. The caller says they're with a service provider like Bell or Rogers. They say they're sending you a new phone in the mail. If you don't want it, you can return it for a refund to a bogus address in Hamilton. Even if you say no, you still get sent a phone. But it's a scam. Someone is actually calling your cell phone company, pretending to be you, ordering a new phone, mailing it to your home, and that's when they strike, calling you. Once you mail the phone back to that phony address, you're stuck with the bill. If you get a call from your service provider saying there's a phone coming your way, here's what the RNC wants you to do.
You have that opportunity to say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable, I want to call you back directly through the line that's designated with the service provider. And Bell, Rogers, all these service providers are aware that this scam is playing out, so they'll understand this concern and will say, yeah, sure. If you've received the device already, you can bring it directly to your service provider.
And if you already mailed that phone back to Hamilton?
At that point, we want the report, we want the information. So if you could provide us with tracking information of the post and any correspondence that may have occurred between you and the caller to designate this process.
Arlette Lazarenko, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, we're approaching the Thanksgiving Day long weekend. And for many, like myself, that will mean a hearty home-cooked meal. But for the busy farmers providing all the produce on your plate, it means time to get to work. And that's exactly what we made Here and Now's Jessica Singer do. Sent her out into the dirt.
For many Newfoundland farmers, the days leading up to the Thanksgiving weekend are jam-packed. We're going to meet some of the farmers that help put food on our tables. Faggin's Farm is a family business, and they need all hands on deck when Thanksgiving comes around.
This is probably the busiest weekend of the year for us. I've probably had 100, 150 maybe customers already today. It's all the extras. See, it's all the extra family members this time of the year for Thanksgiving, because everybody's going to be out this weekend looking for their Jigs dinner.
The family sells fresh produce from their land in Conception Bay South here in the parking lot of Churchill Square.
Local is hard to get, believe it or not. It's not that many selling local, so everybody's grateful that we're here and supplying because they just enjoy the local so much, right?
There's tons of family-run farms in the Conception Bay South area, like this place, tucked at the end of a long gravel road. It's a huge plot of land with views that make you feel like you're hours away from the city.
So we're here at Jeffords Farm, one of the fields at Jeffords Farms. People like to see the stalks on stuff because then they know it's fresh.
Is this good?
Yeah, a little bit more.
Kind of good way to take your anger. I'm gonna injure myself.
Okay, all right, that's good.
That was a good way to
don't cut yourself.
Take my anger out. I
There
don't
you
know
go.
what I'm angry about, but that felt
felt good?
Therapeutic almost. Describe like an average day before Thanksgiving weekend comes.
Well, I start on Wednesday. I do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, taking up my produce and getting it washed and bunched and ready. Saturday morning, 7 o'clock, I'm loading the truck out to the market, and I'm there until 4.
Why do you like doing this?
I don't know. I just always was an outdoor person. I enjoyed the outdoors. Didn't matter if it was raining. Pull up. It's not hard. The ground is pretty loose now because we had all that rain.
That's massive. Are we doing a competition? I
think I'd win. Hands down.
Have you ever seen a carrot like that? Doubt it.
Well, that rain today continuing. It's pouring rain out there again. This is going to continue for the next little bit, and then more rain up across Labrador. I'll get into the full forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Well, we bring Ashley back now for the weather. And Ashley, I got to say, as my mother would say, today was a great day for ducks in the city of St. John's.
It certainly was.
Pouring rain. Had to haul out the umbrella.
Yeah, it certainly was. 30 millimeters of rain has fallen so far in St. John's. Let's take a live look outside of what's happening. The Narrows here, it is, like Jeremy just said, absolutely pouring out there. It is 10 degrees, but light winds today. Southwesters are gusting around 7 kilometers per hour, but there is quite a bit of moisture. If we take a look at the Avalon, there is just a line of showers, basically only affecting the eastern portion of the Avalon. In fact, it was nice for the rest of the Avalon, and it is in through central. The beautiful, beautiful afternoon. So most of that heavy rain, you can see from the latest satellite picture and radar that it is starting to pull offshore a little bit, and expecting that to continue tonight. But we do have some more shower activity for the western portion of the island. We've got a couple of areas of low pressure, and that is what is sparking all of these showers. So all of that moisture heading towards the northern portion of Labrador, and it's streaming there and will continue to do so as we head through the next couple of days. But Environment Canada does have the rainfall warning and wind warning. No surprise with the amount of rain that's expected. The wind's also going to be quite gusty, upwards of about 80 to 90 kilometers per hour out of the north as we head through the next couple of days. So this trough, or this front, is tapping into some tropical moisture, as you could see there, and again is being directed towards Labrador. That is going to continue for tomorrow, at least the first part of tomorrow, and then it should pull away, but still expecting some quite significant rainfall amounts as we head through that time frame. Now, most of it falling from Nain to Hopedale, hence that rainfall warning, but we could be talking anywhere from 75 to 100 millimeters of rain. And if we may see a little bit more than that, depending on who sees the heaviest rain. So certainly keep that in mind. Again, most of that falling tonight and into tomorrow. Now, as far as the forecast goes for tonight, other than that rain up across Labrador, the northern portions of Labrador, it is generally going to be unsettled. Now we'll see some shower activity and even the potential for some wet snow for Lab West, as temperatures are actually quite cool tonight. And then that other area of low pressure just to the southwest is going to spark some showers, which it is doing right now for the west coast, but that is generally going to continue. We may see some clearing skies through areas of central. Now, if you enjoy the northern lights, tonight is a good night. Unfortunately, we're not completely under clear skies, but a geomagnetic storm expected tonight, a KP value of 8, and you'll see that means that they can be visible quite far south tonight. So if you do have some clear skies, you're definitely going to want to go out and watch for the northern lights if you want to. Certainly visible, nearly almost totally visible up across Labrador, maybe the northern peninsula, but again, they'll be fairly low on the horizon across the island. So here's a look at the viewing conditions tonight. Now, southeastern portions of Labrador, pretty good chance you'll clear out tonight to see those northern lights, and even eastern areas of the island. But if you do plan on heading out tonight, make sure you get away from the city lights and look north. That's your best viewing conditions for tonight. And again, this is from midnight to about 3 a.m. So clearing will continue as we head through to the early morning hours. Otherwise, temperatures will sit in the single digits tonight. Very cool up across Lab City. And again, that's why you're going to see that potential for some flurry activity. The model's been hinting at that for a while. And as we head into tomorrow, the first part of the day actually looking pretty nice for eastern Newfoundland, really from Gander, say, over to the northern Avalon. We should see some sunshine, but the clouds will be on the increase and some showers will move in as well. Better chance of those showers moving across the island as we head into the evening. Now again, Nain showing some snow in the mix here. I do think towards the coast though, because temperatures are still quite warm. That should all fall as rain, but we do have some cooler air again tomorrow night across Happy Valley Goose Bay. So you could see some wet snow in the mix there as well. Temperatures tomorrow will sit in the single digits or just barely above that for the west coast. Central and east, you're looking at temperatures between 12 to 13 degrees. Labrador single digits, but still hanging on to those temperatures between 10 to 13 for the southeast. I'll have the long range forecast coming up a little later.
I felt confident in my decision, but I think everyone else in the group we're thinking other things like we should get on the highway and drive.
Milton makes landfall in Florida. We connect with a Newfoundlander who decided to stay and wait out the storm.
I love those old pictures like this.
A lot of history here.
Everybody looks like they were, just posing for the pictures, eh?
These are people who made me who I am.
Somebody's got to tell the stories.
With Milton hitting Florida and now moving off land, many people are breathing a sigh of relief, like Pam Purdy. The Newfoundlander was in Orlando for a family vacation and made the tough decision to stay and weather out the storm. Pam, I know it wasn't the trip that you had expected, but how is everything going now?
We had no idea. This Milton wasn't a named storm, of course. Coming down with 2 young grandkids, that wouldn't have happened had we known what we were going to face when we got here.
And on the topic of that, what have you faced since you've gotten there?
Well, there was certainly been a lot of worry. There was a lot of, I'm going to say, debate and even maybe some argument about what we should do. Pretty much, having been here during COVID and faced the decision of go, not go, go to a park, go to a beach, I felt confident in my decision, but I think everyone else in the group were thinking other things, like we should get on the highway and drive, or we should try to do something along those lines, like go to Fort Lauderdale. And I just had a feeling that being on the highway was not the right thing to do, and going to Fort Lauderdale wasn't the right thing to do. I really felt that Orlando had everything together, and I felt comfortable talking to the folks at the resort we're staying at, Buena Vista Lake Resort, and Disney was 5 minutes away. And I know Disney has things down to a science. Plus, my son and his wife were going to be in Disney, so I didn't want to be too far away. I mean, I was fretting over all that as well. So I'm really glad now in hindsight that we did stick with that decision, but certainly was stressful.
What did you do? What have you done for the last 24 hours, especially overnight when Milton made landfall?
I think originally we were thinking of the what ifs, like we covered all the scenarios. If we were without power, I mean, we boiled 48 eggs. I mean, just what can you do? What can you eat if you have no power? Buying coolers, buying charcoal grills, things that we're hoping we could, once Walmart, because everything is closed today. Nothing is open. It's very surreal. We wanted to make sure that the kids had activities. We wanted to make sure that they had, we should have bought stock in Lego. We did a whole bunch of coloring, made sure we had things for that ready. Food, water, we filled the bathtubs. And we watched, of course, all the reports. So we just tried to do the best we could and not stress everybody out while still being ready. Go bags were ready. Passports were ready.
Pam, I saw some of the videos that you sent our colleague Jessica Singer earlier today. Have you been out and around today? And what's it like out there?
We didn't want to cause any more, we didn't want to get in the car and drive. And once we found out everything was still closed, there was a curfew last night. Was finding that out was kind of fearful. And we were in flood watches and warnings overnight. So we just want to stay out of the way, but we did walk around. There's a mall close to us, that takes us about 3 minutes to walk. We walked through the mall area. We checked out our pool. That's not open today. And just wanted to get the kids outside to get some fresh air. But again, there's this fear with the tropical storm warning. I mean, the Category 1 hurricane was what Milton was when it hit us. And we were told, the media reports are that a tropical storm warning is similar to a Category 1 hurricane. So not being out of the woods, when you see the clouds and when you see the winds pick up and the rain start, you get a little bit nervous again. But we did take a walk around and look, and we definitely were spared. There are some trees down. There's 3 around. Obviously, somebody lost a section of metal off a building somewhere. There was, that was on the ground. The wind and the rain was howling. When the hurricane eye hit us, it was even worse. It was like this eerie silence. The air was still, there was no sound. It was like you were in a vacuum. And it was just a terrifying feeling. And I was just kind of walking around, checking on things and feeling unsettled. And, but then when the storm did start, it was less than the pre-storm. So the pre-storm was the worst of what we experienced. When we were right in the eye of the hurricane, it was still, there was no wind, there was no rain, there was no sound. And then when the hurricane started, it sounded like a freight train, but there was very little wind in our area and very little rain. So it was just very surreal. I had lived through Newport on the Burin Peninsula, and friends of mine not too far, I lived in Harbour Mill, and friends of mine in St. Bernard's, Jack's Fountain, had lost their homes. People were rescued from dories out of their second story of their salt box. So, and we had to, bail out our basement. My daughter was 3, and my son, who was 12 at the time, we had this, bucket patrol, bucket brigade, just bailing out the basement, thinking the house was going to float away. So, I mean, I dealt with that, and then dealing with this, 2 totally different things, but still a feeling of fear.
Pam, it sounds like you're making the best of this situation, and we thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat to us here in St. John's.
Thank you very much. And yeah, we're lucky and we're grateful. So thank you for checking in.
The historic Black community of Africville has received a United Nations designation. The community in the north end of Halifax is already a National Historic Site, but as Gareth Hampshire reports, it's now Canada's first UNESCO place of history and memory linked to enslavement.
Years of work has gone into earning the designation, which recognizes Africville as a thriving community, established in the early 1800s by people of African descent, many of whom were formerly enslaved. It credits their creation of a place of refuge in Halifax, even through major challenges, including not being provided with the same city services like paved roads or running water. The news is already generating a big response.
We were shocked at how many people from around the world were now connecting with us in just 8 hours of this announcement being made.
There are now big hopes this designation, that is a first in Canada, will help with future plans.
These lands are now internationally protected lands under UNESCO, that the lands will never bear any other name other than Africville.
Former residents of Africville were here yesterday watching a live stream of the announcement, and they're pleased what their community has gone through is being recognized on the global stage.
It felt excellent just to hear the name Africville out towards the whole world to hear.
She still remembers having to leave after the community was torn down for the development of the Mackay Bridge, which the Canadian Commission for UNESCO describes as dehumanizing.
When they disperse us, they just push you somewhere and you're on your own. No follow-up, no nothing.
Those who helped make this announcement in Paris happen are keen to see some basic improvements now, like public transportation to the area that's difficult to get to without a car, creating the feeling of still being cut off from the city.
We need politicians at the municipal level to recognize the treacherous trip that one has to take to get here. No sidewalks, no metro transit.
The site's international recognition could now carry more weight when it comes to proposals for an interpretive center and a marina, as well as possible plans to develop infill in front of the museum.
When we sit down and we can boast about not only a national historic site, but now with a UNESCO designation attached to that.
They're also happy the spirit and resilience of Africville comes through in the UN announcement, and now work will start to figure out how it can be applied. But first, a larger announcement and public events being planned to celebrate the designation. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
A new survey shows that nearly a quarter of Canadians are turning to gig work. Millions are supplementing their full-time salaries in an effort to keep up with the rising cost of living. The CBC's Susanna De Silva reports.
3, 2, 1.
Emma Tsui has the morning off from her full-time job, that is.
It is a juggle because after full-time job, if I'm not doing a photo shoot, then I'm editing photos.
Okay, that's good.
She took up photography after losing her job during COVID, but even after getting another full-time job working on the website of a Canadian airline, she didn't stop.
If I don't have that additional income, then I'm basically living paycheck to paycheck.
3, 2.
Her story is one shared by millions of Canadians, according to a new survey by insurance company Securian in partnership with the Angus Reid Institute. It found 22% of Canadians, or 7.3 million people, are doing gig work. That is short-term contract work or one-off projects. Only a small fraction of those are food delivery or ride-sharing.
There's a lot of diverse gig work out there, like dog walking, photography, consulting, digital platforms.
And financial need is a big driver, with 53% doing gig work to cover increasing basic costs or to be able to put some money aside, despite the fact 56% have full-time jobs and 44% already earn more than $100,000 from their primary job.
Even folks that are earning incomes that we would have thought would be more than sufficient in previous times are really feeling some financial stress.
But this expert says it is employers who have been pushing the trend for years.
Where they're not necessarily going to be offering the same level of, of benefits, they're not making pension contributions.
Luckily for Emma Tsui, her photography gig has taken off.
The additional income coming from photography allows me to save for my first down payment, as well as, I use that money for travels and whatnot. So just to live a little bit more.
Yeah, one more.
Like many Canadians, her side gig is now a much-needed part of life. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Sticking with jobs now, tennis superstar Rafael Nadal is retiring at 38 years old. So the announcement came in on a video via social media.
Tiene un principio y un final.
He says everything has a beginning and an end, and Nadal's career will end with 22 men's Grand Slam tournament wins, second only to Novak Djokovic, including a staggering 14 at the French Open, where in 116 matches, he only lost 4. Nadal says retirement was a difficult decision. His final tournament will be next month's Davis Cup in his home country of Spain. A rare pastel piece of art by Impressionist master Claude Monet has been returned to the descendants of its rightful owners more than 80 years after it was stolen by the Nazis. A Jewish couple stored it in a warehouse after they were forced to flee Austria in 1938. But the Monet and their other artworks were seized by the Gestapo and vanished. The couple's granddaughters were reunited with the missing Monet this week after the people who bought it at an exhibit in 2016 realized it was listed by the FBI. So they returned it. The work date back to 1865 and features a scene from France's Normandy shoreline. We'll be right back.
I love those old pictures like this.
A lot of history here.
Everybody looks like they were, just posing for the pictures, eh?
These are people who made me who I am.
Somebody's got to tell the stories.
Before we bring Ashley back, let's get the latest on Milton. It's heading out over the Atlantic, losing strength as it goes. So far, 5 deaths have been confirmed after it roared ashore on the Gulf Coast of Florida yesterday evening. CBC's Katie Simpson has the latest.
Let's show you a little bit of the damage from last night's storm. You can see those hurricane force winds. They absolutely just shredded some of the trees here. Trees coming down on fences, destroying fences. We have lots of branches, lots of debris. This is very close to where the storm actually made landfall. And right now there's a major effort underway to actually clean things up. People are out on their lawns. They're bringing out buckets of debris as they try to sort of get a better sense of just how bad the damage is here. At the peak of the storm, more than 4 million people in Florida losing power, so major efforts are underway right now to restore power. But people who live in these communities, they are really reeling after this moment, because this community that we're in right now, it was actually hit less than 2 weeks ago by Hurricane Helene.
It was loud. The power went out early, I'd say about 6:30, blue flashes everywhere, and the wind started blowing. I think we got the first eye wall, and then the second. I think it was windy till about 3:30 this morning. A lot of wind, a lot of rain, and just loud.
Were you scared at all?
A little bit. I mean, people that say they want to live and ride out a hurricane, I don't know why. it's a scary thing.
How you feeling?
Exhausted, but ready to rebuild and get the house back to normal. That's why the first thing I put up was the flag. So we're not afraid around here, and we're all helping everybody.
Search and rescue efforts remain the priority. They are actively underway. If there is any sort of good news out of this, we heard from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who says the worst case scenario didn't play out.
The storm did weaken before landfall, and the storm surge, as initially reported, has not been as significant overall as what was observed for Hurricane Helene.
But that said, Hurricane Milton still carved a deadly swath of destruction that is going to take weeks, if not months, to recover from. Katie Simpson, CBC News in Palmetto, Florida.
Well, Ashley is back. That's pretty. I think they got. I know we talked about it a little bit this week, but I think people got pretty lucky down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Still devastation though, which is unfortunate, but. Yeah, the weather here, not so dramatic, that's for sure, except we are going to see some pretty heavy rain up across parts of Nain.
It is wet here and in northern Labrador.
Yeah, for sure. Upwards of about 100 millimeters of rain. Let's take a look at what's going on as we head through the weekend. So by Friday evening, we should start to see some of that rain let up across northern portions of Labrador. However, it's still going to continue through Sunday, but the majority of it will fall in that time frame. Now, there is also some colder air, like I keep mentioning this week, for portions of Labrador, especially Lab West. And so you're still looking at the potential for some wet snow in the mix as well. And most of Saturday morning will be wet for the West Coast. Some nice start to the day for the east, but those clouds will be on the increase, and also the chances of showers again through the day on Saturday up across most of the island. Now, as we head into the afternoon hours, our temperatures really aren't moving a whole lot. Single digits, 9 degrees, I should say, for the West Coast, Northern Peninsula. The rest of the island looking between 10 to 12 degrees. And again, single digits for Lab City. Your temperatures are not moving much. 2 degrees through the day, 8 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay. And this will fall mainly as rain, though, as you head towards the coast, because your temperatures are well above zero through your Saturday. As we head into Sunday, this area of low pressure still our weather maker, still bringing some bands of showers for most of us, especially up across Labrador. We'll start to see some clearing for the north coast, which is good news, but more showers for the southern areas of Labrador and across the island, with most of us seeing those showers through the day. Now, temperature-wise, not moving much. Pretty much a carbon copy on Sunday of your daytime highs. A little warmer though for Lab City at +4, but the rest of the Big Land again still hanging on to those single digits. But again, as we head into the afternoon hours, things will start to brighten up a little, especially through Central. So you're going to see the chances of some sunshine or some peaks of sunshine in the mix That'll be the case for the south coast and maybe even eastern Newfoundland as well through the day. But we're still going to hang on to that chance of some wet snow for Lab West through the day because your temperatures are still sitting in the single digits. The long range forecast by Monday, better chance of some cloud cover and showers for sure. But the rest of the weekend really looking at some peaks of sun in the mix, and that will be the story on Tuesday as well. Overnight lows still sitting somewhere between 6 to 9 degrees, but your daytime highs between 10 to 15, warming up a little bit as we head into Tuesday, which will be nice. Then for central Newfoundland, you are also looking at your temperatures warming up as we get into Tuesday. That will be accompanied by some periods of rain, though, through the day. A little bit of peaks of sunshine on Monday. Same thing for western Newfoundland. And then for Tuesday, you are looking at your temperature around 14 degrees with some showers, and your overnight lows dipping between 3 and 4 degrees. Now for eastern Labrador, some sunshine for Monday. That looks decent, but there is the chance that we'll see some flurries in the mix for Tuesday. Your daytime highs around 6 degrees. So rain to start, but then as your overnight low dips down, that's when you'll look at that risk of some flurries. And western Labrador getting chilly, especially as we head into next week, and your overnight temperature sitting below 0. Our weather photo of the day, great shot from the west coast. This is in Humber Valley, the Humber Valley, I should say. Look at this double rainbow.
Double rainbow!
I was actually getting quite a bit of photos of the rainbow that happened here about an hour ago or half an hour ago now. But this one from the west coast, great shot, Diane. Thank you so much. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can do that by sending them to Facebook or emailing them. That's the best place, to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
That almost doesn't look like.
It doesn't look real.
Photo. I saw that coming into the email and I was like, man, that's a sick shot. Sorry,
nice
I got myself looking at it. Oh. Anyways, that's a beautiful rainbow. If you got shots, fire them off to Ashley. As you said, there's already people sending you pictures
Lots
of the
of photos.
rainbow that just happened, including people who work here.
It was pouring rain and a rainbow.
Mark's wrong. We're not going to put your photo on the news. At least not tonight. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Anyways, that's it for us. For Ashley and I, have a good night. Take it easy.
Good night.